Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips.
Hello listeners, you're listening to Unlock Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. My name is Dr. Leslie Phillips and I am your host and will be for the next hour. I'm joined in the studio by Corey.
Hello, I thought it was Unlocking Your Truth.
You know what? It is. And I realized I was kind of saying it wrong. And I just carried on. You know why I did that? Because I was going to say, Unlock Your Intuition, which is my online course. And that's why I said unlock instead of unlocking your truth.
That explains
That's where I got.
By the way, unlock your intuition is wonderful.
Yeah, you can go on. Actually, I'm doing a free webinar tomorrow.
You aren't.
I am. It's called Awaken Your Intuition, and it's an introduction to Unlock Your Intuition. And so, if you listeners would like to attend that free webinar, you can go to drlesliephillips.com and /awaken your intuition. So you could just Google that. Dr. Leslie Phillips and Awaken Your Intuition. If you can't find it, though, write to me at info@drlesliephillips.com.
What will we learn?
What will they learn? They will learn the 7 key steps that they need to take to awaken their intuition and to unblock their intuition. And they will also learn about some of the main ways that people experience their intuition.
Why would they want to do that?
They might want to do that so that they can have access to their own higher guidance and be able to understand their life purpose and just make easier decisions, have greater mental clarity. There's lots of reasons why people might want to do that.
So it's not just about getting the right lottery numbers.
No, not at all. Not at all.
It's, I would presume it's just like our circle that we do, the Intender Circle. It's called Intenders for the Highest Good. And it's all about not just your intentions for yourself, but how do your intentions that you want to set, apply and show to the world, show up to the world. It's about making everything better.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely.
Yes. Well, now, if you're tuning in for the first time, I'll just tell you, Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie is a talk show about metaphysics and spirituality. And so every week we have a different topic. And do you know what? I know why I keep saying that. Because I had to reschedule the webinar and it's not tomorrow, it's Thursday. and I just sent an email to everyone that signed up for it, and so they're probably all in my head going, what's going on? Yeah, it's Thursday at 6:30. So Google it, Dr. Leslie Phillips, Awaken Your Intuition, and it's got the right date and time on the web page.
Just out of curiosity, why did you change the date?
Because I double booked myself because I the last Wednesday of every month I always do coffee, tea and intuition at Bean Around Books in Maple Ridge, and that's also a free event, and that event starts at 7 to 8:30, and people show up, they have a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, and we talk about intuition. People can ask questions and I'll give you my perspective. I'm not doing readings for people, but we're just talking about concepts of metaphysics and spirituality and intuition. People ask questions, I share my information, and other people are actually welcome to do the same because it's a community event. And the Being Around Books is great. They stay open late for us and continue to serve us coffee while we chat.
And they don't yell at people when they bring coffee from other sources.
Yeah, which, All right, so anyway, let me roll on to today's topic. And a few weeks ago, one of our regular listeners, Lola, hello Lola, she sent me an email and said, I just watched this really, really interesting YouTube video, and I wanted what do you think about it? And the YouTube video that she sent to me, and I'm not sure, it's called Effects of Alcohol at a Spiritual Level. So how does drinking alcohol affect you spiritually? And what I thought I might do is actually play it, and then we can discuss it. It's 10 minutes long though, so let's give it a shot.
It is interesting. Everybody stare really hard at your radio or computer screen, and you'll see it play.
Hello and welcome to SSRF's Spiritual Research Series on leading a spiritually beneficial lifestyle. When friends have a drink together, perhaps the last thing on their mind is the spiritual effect of the alcohol they will consume. However, the spiritual effect is quite significant. And in this video, we will share with you our findings gained through spiritual research. Researching and analyzing the spiritual dimension is not like regular research and can only be conducted through an advanced sixth sense. Every stimulus, including what we drink, affects the activity of the spiritual energy centers in our subtle body, known as Kundalini chakras. These chakras regulate the flow of subtle energy for various functions. To aid our research, we made use of a biofeedback machine, which uses an electrosomatographic scanning technique. This technique gives us an interpretation of the electrical activity of a person's Kundalini chakras. Using this machine, we conducted an experiment using 10 volunteers, all of whom were doing spiritual practice. In this sample, 5 of the volunteers were afflicted by demonic possession, while the others were free from any negative energy distress. The reason we chose such a sample is because people worldwide are affected by negative energies to some extent, and in 30% of cases, people are possessed by these negative energies with or without their knowledge. In the beginning, we scanned all the volunteers to get baseline readings of their chakras. We then served all of them alcohol. Some had whiskey and some had beer. They all had between 2 to 3 standard size drinks. Soon afterwards, we took another reading to see the effect the alcohol had on their chakras. We continued to take readings at regular intervals until we found that the readings had returned to somewhere near the original baseline. It took as long as 170 hours or 7 days to get back to normal for one volunteer, while the average across all volunteers was about 60 hours or 2.5 days. With regards to the volunteers who were possessed, the change in readings on the biofeedback machine for 60% of them were more negative, This actually means that there was a decrease in activity of their chakras. %, of the volunteers who were not affected by negative energies also showed a decrease in the activity of all their chakras. Before we explore this subject any further, I would like to share with you a concept that is fundamental to our spiritual research. According to the science of spirituality, the entire universe is made up of 3 subtle basic components: Sattva, Raja, and Tama. Sattva is the component that represents spiritual purity and knowledge. Raja represents action and passion, while Tama represents ignorance and inertia. The subtle vibrations emanating from anything and everything are dependent on the predominant subtle basic component they are comprised of. Through spiritual research, we found that alcohol gives out Tama-Raja predominant vibrations. Her Holiness Mrs. Yoya Valley, a saint from SSRF and a member of our spiritual research team, has an advanced sixth sense of vision. She provided us with a glimpse of the various subtle vibrations generated when we consume alcohol. Through her sixth sense of vision, Her Holiness Yoya sees that an activated ring of distressing energy gets created in the alcohol. The distressing energy is not confined to just the liquor, but extends out into the surrounding area. She also sees particles of distressing energy emanating into the environment. After that, an activated ring of illusion-creating energy, also known as Maya Shakti, gets created and expands out into the environment. This is then accompanied by an illusion-creating fragrance that permeates into the surrounding area. By consuming alcohol, a covering of distressing subtle energy is created on our body, mind, and intellect. Negative energies are attracted to these distressing vibrations and use this to affect and control the person. Illusory subtle particles in alcohol permeate throughout a person's body, and as a result of all these factors, a person feels like drinking again and again. In the case of volunteers afflicted with demonic possession, the possessing entity had created distressing energy centers in all their chakras. The Tama component from the alcohol only further increased the negativity in the chakras. As a result, this reduced the activity of the chakras. In the case of the other group, who did not have any distress, the Tama component in the alcohol affected them too and got accumulated in the chakras. And this diminished the ability of the chakras to absorb divine consciousness. And this is the reason why their activity also reduced. The consumption of alcohol is one of the easiest ways of adversely affecting ourselves with increased Rajatama subtle components. Even a casual drink can increase our risk of being affected or possessed by negative energies. Any increase of Rajatama in a person has a direct influence on the temperament of a person, and this can manifest as laziness, anger, a lack of enthusiasm, decreased efficiency. In almost all cases, alcohol dependence or addiction is a sign of demonic possession. And it is for this reason alcohol is best avoided. In our next video, we will share with you the
Okay, listeners, so that was the information that Lola sent and asked me to listen to and have a discussion about. And so let's do that now.
Okay.
And it's interesting. If somebody comes to me for a reading session and they have had alcohol, or marijuana actually, I will not do a reading on them because, to my clairvoyant sight, I've not actually sat like this lady did and look at an alcoholic beverage and see what vapors it emanates, but I do know that when somebody is drunk, to me, their aura is not stable. Their aura is swirling around and around, and it's really difficult to get a stable reading, a stable energy reading, number one. And number two, they wouldn't be able to receive the information even if I could. And the third reason is it's kind of not safe for me to do a reading on somebody in that state. Because I actually agree, they call this demonic possession, that alcohol leaves you vulnerable to demonic possession. I might not have used the same language, but I actually agree. And I'll tell you why I agree, because what tends to happen when you get drunk, as well as the aura spinning, is the crown chakra opens up, you lose your grounding. Your body is not really a pleasant place for you to hang out when you're drunk, so you actually leave your body. And when you leave your body, it's like you're leaving your car without a driver and the door open. And so other entities can actually come in. And that's why, when people do things completely out of character when they're drunk, maybe they become more promiscuous or do dangerous things. And so I kind of find it, actually, I'm kind of in agreement with some of what they were saying anyway. How about you, Corey?
Well, one of the things when I listened to the video earlier, watched the video earlier, they show this pictorial representation of demonic possession, but he also clarifies it. If you'll notice in the video, he does state that it is also negative energy that comes into the individual.
Yeah. And I don't have any problems calling it an entity either, because and I actually think he said 30% of the population have some form of possession. I think it's closer to 100% because it can go from all the way from Rosemary's Baby possession to just having a little bit of your mother or your father's or your child's energy in your space just because you're really close to them, but it's still that it's not all your energy in your space.
Interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, so like I said, Lola, I agree that alcohol leaves you vulnerable. When you're drunk, you're not in charge of your own energy. You lose your grounding, you open your seventh chakra, and your energy kind of swirls about. And, the same thing with marijuana actually is that I also see that, they lose control of their energy in a way. The crown chakra, it's a bit different. The crown chakra opens up, which, and they can leave their body, which leaves them open to possession. But the opening of the crown chakra can give you access to all sorts of interesting information. The trouble is, if you've been smoking marijuana, you probably have absolutely no desire to do anything about what it is that you're observing, and if you're drunk, you're not even capable of doing anything about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I very rarely drink now at all, but when I do have a beer or a glass of wine, I find in the morning I've got a slight hangover from one beer, which shows that not only is it effectually negating your spirit, but it's also doing things to your body. And we don't see that. When you drink on a regular basis through a couple of beer, a couple of glasses of wine in the evening, maybe you drink, say you drink three times a week, you don't what they were saying, it takes up to, what was it, 60 hours?
Well, depending on the person, 2.5 to 7 days for the chakra system to go back to what they would say was normal.
The alcohol is leaving the system completely. It takes a couple of days for that to happen. And so I heard that it takes actually 7 days for it to completely leave your system. So you're never really, quote unquote, sober or alcohol free. And so what happens is you build up that tolerance. That's why when people start drinking, they can have a beer or a couple of beer and they feel it. But then after a while, they can drink 8-10 beer and still be relatively lucid. Not completely, but relatively lucid.
No, but what this was saying is that it's affecting your subtle energy body and your subtle energy system and your connection with God, source energy, divine consciousness.
What I'm saying is that if you drink regularly, you don't notice how it is stupefying you.
Yeah, although, I also take your point. I mean, I also find that these days after one drink I notice it. And everyone says, well, it's because you're getting older. And it might be. But it also could be that the vibration on the planet is going up. So all of these things that we used to tolerate, that are, we tolerate them less and less because the differential between the energy frequency is more.
But again, you're drinking less than you used to.
Yeah. So, anyway, that was an interesting topic. It's time for us to go to some advertisements. So you're listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie, and we've been talking about the relationship between alcohol and spirituality. And, actually, just another interesting thing. The original word alcohol comes from Arabic. And the meaning of alcohol in Arabic is body-eating spirit or demon. That's where that word actually comes from. That's kind of interesting. Anyway, we'll be back after these few short messages. Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie and Corey. And we're broadcasting live on 101.7 FM across the Fraser Valley in BC. And if the signal doesn't reach you where you live, you can live stream us on civl.ca. And lucky you, because all of the episodes you've ever done are available in podcast form on drlesliephillips.com. So now we've reached the time in the show where we open the phone lines to you, the listeners, to join in the conversation. And you can, if you've got something that you want to add to the topic of the week, you're welcome to, or you can call us and ask a question. And we welcome questions about anything that's going on in your life because we give you a spiritual perspective on it. So if it's a relationship, career, money, health, life purpose, your own spiritual experiences, or if you want to know about your spirit guides or your past lives or really anything you want, anything goes, we're happy to give you a spiritual insight and some intuitive feedback and guidance for you and your question. So, the number here in the studio is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And once again, it's 604-504-7441, extension 4142. And you can also send in questions to info@drlesliephillips.com. And of course, the topic this week was the relationship between alcohol and spirituality. And it's kind of interesting that we listened to that one recording, but I'm sure we could have found other material that said the opposite. Because if you think about some of those religions, like I'm thinking of the ones that are a combo between the sort of Latin and African, like Santera, is it called?
Voodoo.
Yeah, voodoo. They use alcohol specifically to, and they give gifts of alcohol to the deities, and they use alcohol specifically to help them leave their bodies so that the deity can come through them. And so they use it in their spiritual practice in a different way. They recognize that what we were talking about, they recognize that that's what it does, but for them it's an actual desired state. And I even, I enjoyed in the past reading Jane Roberts' books. She channeled an entity called Seth. In order to get into the mood, she'd have a beer or two or three to help Seth come and talk through her. Yeah, exactly.
I hope I don't offend anybody, but when you think of Catholicism and the sacrament that they serve, which is wine and the host that are supposed to be the body and the blood of Jesus Christ, and you think about the giving you wine, which is actually physically supposed to be another entity. So again, it's in religion they use alcohol as a representation, and not just a representation, but an actuality of another entity going into you.
Yeah, and there's a lot we could talk about here. If we wanted to expand the discussion to the effects of drugs on spirituality, we could talk about medicinal drugs, we could talk about recreational drugs, we could talk about psychedelics, and they all have an effect on your energy field and your energy system. Some will depress it. In some cases, it might help you get outside of your intellect and have a spiritual experience, although, my personal opinion is it's not a necessary way to do it. It's not the only way to do it. It's not the way I choose to do it, but some people it works for them.
One of the things that irks me a lot, and in today's culture, is the ayahuasca thing. And ayahuasca is not meant to be taken. I mean, I was invited to an ayahuasca ceremony here in Vancouver in a Masonic hall. And it started at 6, and you had to be out of the hall by 12.
That's completely out of context and unsafe, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So you're sending people home. But apparently now they have ayahuasca bars in California where you go and try this out. That's not what it is.
No.
It's meant to be done, as you said the other night, in an Amazonian jungle setting, or at least a jungle setting where you have all the nature spirit there, and
under the guidance and tutelage of a shaman who understands it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, that's right. And sounds like we are going to get a phone call. But anyway, you're listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie, and we've been talking about the effects of alcohol and drugs, actually, on your spirituality and spiritual experience. Today we focused on alcohol, and but we were just saying that there's a lot of dimensions to this whole conversation. So listeners, you're welcome to phone up and join in the conversation and maybe share your experiences. Maybe you're somebody who has used alcohol in your religion, or you're somebody who's taken ayahuasca and had a spiritual experience as a result. You're welcome to call and share your experiences. And you're also welcome to phone up and change the topic completely and ask about something that's going on in your life and get a spiritual perspective on it. And we really welcome all kinds of questions on the show. Anything from relationship questions, health questions, your own spiritual experiences, career, money, past lives, you name it. As long as it's under the umbrella of metaphysics and spirituality, or we can take an intuitive look at it, which really is anything, then you can call. Oh, here we go. We have somebody calling now. Hello, listener.
Hello.
Hello. Who am I talking to?
This is Misty. How are you doing, Leslie?
I'm doing good. Misty, so what's your question?
Well, I had a question. I know the topic is about alcohol and drugs tonight, about it affecting your psychic abilities and your intuition.
Right.
And I wanted to know if there was anything that didn't have a negative effect but had a positive effect on your intuition or psychic abilities, like maybe something other than drugs and alcohol.
Well, I'll take a look at that, because I tend to be a bit of a purist in that I don't really use anything to enhance my intuitive abilities. I just do it. But I'll take a look at that question and see what comes up. The other thing I'll mention is, I think it also, different people have different experiences with different things. And I think it's all vibrational. So, for example, if there's a substance that somebody says, oh, well, this will give you an amazing spiritual experience, and then you take it and you have the opposite of that, it could just be that you're not a vibrational match for that thing. Maybe you had have a higher vibration and it brought, it brought you to a lower vibration, or vice versa. And so I think it's, there's not a one size fits all. And I certainly don't want to be judgmental and say, well, there's, but it's not my choice. But anyway, let me take a look and see.
Okay.
Well, one of the things that's coming up is crystals. Crystals are amplifiers of energy. And so they can help amplify your, they can help amplify energy, in your energy channels, and they can help enhance your, spiritual sight. So, for example, years ago, this is something I did do. Years ago, when I was really into dreams, and I kept a dream diary, I used to sleep with a Herkimer diamond under my pillow. And that's a type of a quartz crystal that's meant to really activate dreaming and help you remember your dreams. And the other
I was going to say, what kind of crystals would you have in mind?
Yeah, well, so the Herkimer diamond is great for that. The other thing I was going to say about the crystals is you can also use them to absorb negative energies as a kind of a protection. So,
I like that.
And, of course, we all know about things like sage and those kind of herbs, using them in cleansing. And, and for some people, having a ritual where they're doing things like that really, really helps them. And do you mind me asking why you ask the question? Are there things that you've experienced that you found helpful, or you're wondering about?
Honestly, I just wanted to see, because you're so intuitive and been doing it a long time, what your knowledge had to offer, basically.
Yeah, well, I'd say from my personal experience, I don't think anything affects me massively, but I don't have fluoride toothpaste, because the fluoride calcifies your pineal, is said to calcify your pineal gland. And to be a clairvoyant, you're using your pineal gland to do that. And so I would avoid fluoride. And the other thing that people do, that some people swear by, is their diet. But again, I think that's an individual thing,
I agree. I think I don't have any specific thing that really helps me, but I just feel like when I'm super relaxed, it just comes easier than if I'm super busy or trying to do 10 things at once. But
yeah, I agree. And so doing things that get you into that peaceful, relaxed, meditative state, whether it's going for a massage or going for a swim or going for a walk in nature, if you're the kind of person that likes a little bit of ritual, having your own little private meditation room with comfortable cushions and incense and things like that. But I don't know whether I would advocate any substance that you would take internally?
Because I just heard some people saying about like teas and stuff, and I didn't know if that was like a regular thing for some people or.
Yeah, and somebody was telling me they drink wormwood tea. And that's a hallucinogen, actually, but you can make tea out of it. It's probably like a mildly hallucinogenic. The other thing is, I'll tell you one thing I did do. Somebody told me melatonin is really, really great to help you sleep. And so I took some melatonin, and it had the absolute opposite effect on me all night. My clairvoyance was going absolutely nuts. There was like images and images upon images upon images. It was like, it did heighten it, but for me, it was way overload. Overload. Like what, it was just like, so, and then the next night I think I thought I tried a bit less of it, but it still did the same thing. So for me, for some people taking melatonin, it's relaxing, it helps them go to sleep, maybe it helps them dream, I don't know. But for me, that actually did stimulate my pineal gland. Because the pineal gland is, I don't know whether it produces melatonin, but it's definitely involved in that, biochemical, interaction. But so for me, the melatonin did do something to my pineal gland, but it wasn't really what I wanted, because it was not something I was like controlling or directing.
Cool. Yeah. Okay, well, that's all good information. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Corey's got something to add there.
Yeah, I have some add like that. We were just talking about the Peruvian and the South American. Ayahuasca. But the American Indians as well, the American First Nations, they use peyote, it's mescaline. Of course, it comes from
mushroom.
It's a mushroom. Yeah. I think, or cactus. I'm not even sure.
Oh, it might be.
It's a cactus
sort of seed.
It's a cactus. And again, it's something that supposedly will bring you to another level with regards to your spirituality and your clairvoyance, but mostly to take your own voyage. Also, First Nations, they use the Inipe, the sweat lodge, and I've been through a sweat lodge, and it's very eye-opening. It does allow you. It's a cleansing to allow the negative spirit that's within you to escape. And so I would say if you want to relax, you can try. If you want to do something like that, if that's in your nature, that would be very interesting. But also,
cool.
all these things are wonderful when done by a shaman, by a practitioner who knows how to lead these experiences. You just can't do it just for the heck of doing it, because they put the grandfathers, the rocks, and they put tobacco on the rocks and all kinds of things. But you need to be led, because if and when that experience opens you up, you want somebody there that can help you and help you stay connected and grounded. It's very important.
That's so true.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, you were mentioning to me you wanted to enhance your psychic abilities. That can be done without anything whatsoever. It's just a matter of working at it a little bit, allowing it to happen.
We were talking earlier about my course, Unlock Your Intuition, and that's what that's doing. It's showing you how to do it without drugs or extra enhancements. You basically just do what you were saying before, is you turn within, learn to meditate, learn conscious energy management techniques, and get guided by an expert in how to hold your consciousness so you can access your intuitive abilities when you want to.
There's also running around in the woods naked. I mean, let's face it, some people do that too. But and that can solitude also has a tendency to introvert you, to go into those spaces. And again, to take the example from the First Nations, when they send their people out to spend time alone looking for, and I can't remember the exact term, their voyage, what's the exact term? But anyway, they go out and they spend time alone in the woods and without food, without water, and they just barely clothed, and they allow nature to totally
run its course.
Yeah, run its course within you, and they have the vision quest, a vision quest. And that's very interesting as well. And your totem animals, working with your totem animals, working along those things. But they all come from a form of meditation. And meditation, I think, is key in this one.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. Unfortunately, we've reached the time where we have to go to another break. We've gone past our break time, actually. But I'm just going to mention one more thing before we go to break, and that is some of these experiences that you get through taking substances will give you experiences that take place out of your body. And I advocate learning how to do it in your body. Because you kind of got this body anyway, so may as well be conscious in it and learn how to operate consciously as spirit through it. So thank you very much for phoning, and I'll let you go, and we're going to go to a break.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Hello, listeners. Welcome back to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. And my name's Dr. Leslie Phillips. I'm here with Corey, and we've been talking about alcohol and spirituality. And we've got Naomi. I think that's who we've got. Who do we have on the line?
Hi, Dr. Leslie.
Hello. So, how are you? So you've got some knowledge of this, probably, haven't you? Maybe.
Probably.
I guess that's not your question, because you've probably not been listening to the show, have you? No.
I can't. Yeah. I don't get very good reception, so it comes in and out.
Oh, okay. So what's your question in that case?
My question is, it's more of what we worked on the last time we spoke, and it's like more layers been coming up in my chest, and I was just wondering if it's a physical problem or a spiritual problem.
Okay, so you might have to remind me a bit more. So you've been noticing on a spiritual level
burning in my chest.
Oh, you're having burning in your chest, and anything else going on?
I was just hoping it's not related to more things that are being released from when I went to the cemetery.
Okay. Oh.
Do you remember now?
Yeah. Okay, let's take a look.
Okay.
I'm just, I can see what you're talking about, because I can see that exactly what you said is like more layers coming up to be released. So I'm seeing two different things. I'm seeing a lot of past-time energy, actually specifically in the rib cage and the lungs, and so it's almost it almost feels like this pressure pulling the ribs apart from the middle. And then I see something in the heart center as well, which is just some pain, really. Let's just give you a hand. And, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a healing to help start to clear some of this. And then I'm actually going to invite Corey to see if he's got any hit on what's going on. Give you a slightly different perspective than me. But then if I see something while I'm working on you, I'll say.
Okay.
I'm feeling the energy pulsating in the center of your chest, and it's kind of springy. It's like you're not, you're holding on to it. There's something that's making you hold on to it and not release it. So I'll see if I can identify what that is. You can just pipe up, Corey, if you see something.
One of the shows we did a long time ago was about the heart, and the heart itself is the same. They've proven now that the heart is the same type of material as the brain, and actually has memory. And I'm not privy to why you went to the cemetery or not, but this has happened since you've gone there?
I didn't hear this last question.
He asked you if this problem came since you went to the cemetery.
Did this start since you've been there?
Yeah.
Okay, so you heard the first part where I was saying about the heart and the brain being similar? That the heart has memory. So is this someone that you care about very much?
Actually, it was a part of me in a way.
Yes. So what I've seen when I tuned into it, what I've seen is that your heart is remembering. Your heart is actually remembering the experience that you had with this individual. Not experience in the sense of a physical experience, but in the sense of the spiritual connection that you had with that person. And it's because of your nature, you personally, most people won't have that type of effect, but because you're so open to the spiritual nature and working on your spirituality and your abilities and things like that, it's become very evident that your heart actually is remembering and feeling the missing, for the lack of missing in quotation marks. So you're feeling the missing.
So I'll just, if it's okay with you, I won't give specifics, but I'll give a bit more information. Is that all right?
You can get specific. That's fine.
Naomi went to visit the grave of one of her past lives, who was a famous individual at the level of, like Princess. It wasn't Princess Diana, but that kind of a woman that was took the heart of a nation. Yeah.
Well, what's happened is you've opened that veil. That veil is open between this life and that past life a little bit. And your spirit and your soul, your is remembering. You know what I mean? This is why it is actually remembering, and it's coming out. There's a physicality to that, and it's coming out in your chest. And so the recommendation is meditate on that. I wouldn't want, if I were you, I wouldn't want anybody to remove that from me. I would want to experience that through, but to be in a little bit, I don't like the word control, but to be able to relax that muscle a little bit and allow it to happen, but allow it to happen through meditation.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, because one of the things I think that happens with Naomi and perhaps other people is we get into a resistance, right? And the resistance keeps it there.
Exactly.
So to be able to relax and trust that it's changing, you're not stuck with it.
Okay. For instance, if it were a child or a brother or a parent that you were visiting, you'd have some anguish. There would be a little bit of anguish there, and it would come every time you thought about it, especially when you went to the graveyard. Your experience is the same thing, except it's about your own passing and rebirth. So it's a very deep experience. I would relish it if I were you, and experiencing that wonderful expansive nature that this is giving you. I mean, it's another next step in your spiritual growth. I think that's my opinion.
One of the things about this past life is that she had a lot of. It was a big life that burned fast and bright, but not that long. Mm-hmm. But she had a lot of grief in her life, and then there was the grief of a whole nation. That grieved her passing, and so all of that area in the lungs and the rib cage, I'm seeing it in a way. I guess what you're doing is you're healing some of what was left over from that life in this body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Leslie.
You're welcome, and it's lovely. It's lovely to hear your voice. I've been thinking about you this week.
No, I actually was going to email you to shoot you today, but I was like, oh, well, she has her radio station, so I'll just call her.
Yeah.
So I'll email you tomorrow, and we'll talk again later.
Yeah.
We love hearing from you.
Yeah, we totally do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, we've got about 4 minutes left. Is the phone going again, Corey? No. Okay. So you are listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Leslie. My name is Dr. Leslie Phillips, and I am your host. And today on Unlocking Your Truth, we were talking about alcohol and spirituality because one of our regular listeners, who's called Lola, had sent us a link to a video where they were talking about how alcohol invites demonic possession. And so we thought that would make a cool topic. And now we're at the time in the show where we're answering your questions. And the number is 604-504-7441, extension 4142. Or we might have time for a really, 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 really quick one. Corey's shaking his head. No, he's not. So I'm just going to talk for 2 minutes. And so maybe what we'll talk about is we'll just remind you that there's a couple of free events coming up, and one of them is tomorrow night in Maple Ridge at a coffee shop on Lougheed Highway called Being Around Books, and I do an event there the last Wednesday of the month, and it's free. It's a community event, and it's called Coffee, Tea and Intuition, and it starts at 7 o'clock and goes on to about 8:30. And we really enjoy getting together and talking about intuition there. And then on Thursday, I'm doing a free webinar called Awaken Your Intuition. It's an introduction to my course, which is called Unlock Your Intuition. And that webinar, you can write to me at info@drlesliephillips.com if you want to join that webinar. That's probably the easiest way. Or you can go to drlesliephillips.com. Well, Google drlesliephillips.com and Awaken Your Intuition, and it should get you to that webinar sign-up page for that.
I just want to also, one more time, recommend Intenders of the Highest Good. Just intendersofthehighestgood.com. It's a wonderful organization, and it's worldwide. It's free. It's a free thing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Check it out.
If you're into manifestation and creating the life that you want, then it's a really good resource for that. So we're going to be coming back next week. Next week we do have a guest that we'll be interviewing. All right, we'll see you next week, same time.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Leslie Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. Come back again.